Lawrence Okolie has failed a drugs test for his fight against Tony Yoka in France. And this fight was meant to take place this Saturday. And it's not going to happen with Lawrence Okolie anymore because he's gone and done it. Like, I am not surprised, guys. This is boxing. We've seen it recently so many times. Joseph Parker being a prime example of someone that failed a drugs test recently. And now Lawrence Okolie has gone and done the same. Now, let's jump into the article that reports this news because this has just been reported in the last hour or so, right? And as we look here, this is the website of Ring Magazine. And it says that Queensberry have this morning announced that Lawrence Okolie has returned an adverse finding before his DAZN headliner against Tony Yoka in Paris this weekend, right? We go down here and this is where, Frank Warren and Queensberry Promotion had to make a statement. And I'm going to highlight it here. It says that last night, the VADA informed Queensberry that Lawrence Okolie returned an adverse finding following an anti-doping test conducted ahead of his show in Paris this Saturday. A further update regarding the event will be made in due course. And of course, Lawrence Okolie, he's not going to stay quiet, right? Lawrence Okolie, I'm going to highlight it here. He goes and posts something on Instagram, posts a statement, and this is what he says. He says, before anyone starts imagining the worst, following my bicep injury last year, I sustained an elbow injury on the same arm during this camp. I had a treatment on it, and now we're all here. I truly hope sense prevails. I will, of course, be fully cooperating with all relevant authorities, and I am confident any investigation will clear my name. I won't be making any further comments at this time. Thank you all for your support and see you soon. So this is the statement of Lawrence Okolie after failing a drugs test to fight Tony Yoka in Paris. Guys, get in the comment section and let me know what you make of this because this is not the first time. There's a whole bunch of fighters that have failed drugs tests over the years. I mean, we can talk about the likes of Dillian White. We can talk about Gerald Miller. We can talk about Joseph Parker, as I've mentioned earlier on. And this keeps on going. It keeps on happening every single time. So, look, we know that a lot of these guys are using some sort of drugs in the gym, training with it before they get in a boxing ring and have a fight. We know that. And that is why it is really important for companies like, or organizations like the VADA, to be able to conduct these tests. Because, guys, let's be honest, boxing is a very dangerous sport. And you cannot have people or fighters, taking drugs to fight because, as we know, one punch can change everything in a fighter's life. Like, when a fighter steps into the ring, they lose something of themselves in that ring. And that is why in a combat sport like boxing, people cannot fail a drugs test. You cannot. It is absolutely unacceptable to fail a drugs test in boxing. It shouldn't be able to be allowed to use, drugs enhancing middles and things like that to be able to compete in boxing or in any combat sport at all. And Lawrence Okolie, failing a drugs test. Now, of course, there's going to be investigation. There are going to be things that are going to be said about this, and there are going to be statements that has been made by VADA or Lawrence Okolie's team. But let's be honest here, guys. It is an absolute disgrace. Let's be honest. Let's be 100% honest. It is an absolute disgrace for fighters to take drugs and fight. It is unacceptable. It should not be accepted in any sport, and especially not in boxing. It's way too dangerous for anyone to be taking drugs and to fighting because you're putting the other fighter, you're putting them in danger. You could actually unalive them in the ring if you take, enhancing drugs to be able to enhance your performance or your endurance or whatever it is. You should not. Everybody should be able to fight in their natural state after the training camp. It is an absolute disgrace. And, Lawrence Okolie, if he's found guilty, and look, there's always going to be a thing of B sample and A sample. The A sample has, of course, shown that Lawrence Okolie has failed a drugs test. We've all seen it. I've just read it to you. News articles and news sources have talked about this. And as you can see here, it's just there. Queensberry has this morning confirmed, which means that the A sample is correct, is positive, that Lawrence Okolie has failed the drugs test. Now, we need to wait for the B sample. But guys, one thing we know, and we've always known when it comes to failing the drugs test in boxing, is A sample comes, which is, a positive. The B sample does not come any other way than being positive as well. So I don't think that all of a sudden the B sample is going to show that Lawrence Okolie didn't take any drugs. I don't think so. I think what the B sample is going to show is that Lawrence Okolie indeed failed the drugs test. And if that is the case, then he should be banned. He should be banned. And this is where there's the contention. This is where there's conversation. This is where there's a lot of different opinions about how long a fighter should be banned for. If you're caught taking drugs, then you should be banned for a very, very long time. I don't think that it should be an argument as to, if a fighter is banned or not. But the fighter should be banned for a very long time. And someone like Lawrence Okolie right now, if the B sample comes back positive, as I expect it to be, as it is in most cases when it comes to fighters failing drugs tests, then he should be banned for at least 5 years. Like, Lawrence Okolie should be banned for at least 5 years if, and there's a big emphasis on this, if, right? If the B sample also confirms that he had drugs in his body as he's preparing for Tony Yoka fight, then he should be banned for at least 5 years. And I know that it's not consistent. It's not consistent because Jerome Miller failed the drugs test. He got banned. He failed another drugs test. He got banned. And I think after the second drugs test, which Jerome Miller failed, I think that should be the end of it. He should be banned for life in boxing. Jerome Miller should not be allowed to fight again, ever, in boxing. But he was, because we're dealing with, sanctioning bodies that will take money on the side, sanctioning bodies that will allow things to just go ahead. That's what we're dealing with in boxing. And exactly what we have here with Lawrence Okolie failing the drugs test is because he has been aided by people in his gym to take drugs, because a lot of fighters are taking it. They're just not being caught. Let's be honest, guys. A lot of fighters in the gyms right now preparing for fights are using drugs. They're just not being caught. And Lawrence Okolie has been caught. And if the B sample, as I said, comes back with the same results as the A sample, then he should be banned for at least 5 years. There's no way that boxing should allow fighters to use drugs to fight. No way. Guys, get in the comment section and let me know what you think about Lawrence Okolie failing a drugs test for his fight versus Tony Yoka. Now, they're going to have to fight a replacement for the Tony Yoka fight. I was actually looking forward to this fight because I think this is a really good fight. Both fighters have a really good style that will match each other. I know that Lawrence Okolie is a really difficult fighter to fight because he doesn't really give you much. He's a jab, right hand, smother your shot type of fighter. Tony Yoka is a bit more free flowing sort of fighter, uses his jab very well, good movement, has got decent power. I was looking forward to this fight because I think it's a good fight. I think it's a good fight. And I was picking Tony Yoka to be the favorite because although, Lawrence Okolie can punch at heavyweight, I think Tony Yoka is maybe a little bit more polished than Lawrence Okolie. And I thought that Tony Yoka could overcome the challenge that Lawrence Okolie could bring. But we're not going to see anymore because Lawrence Okolie has gone and failed the drugs test. So guys, get in the comment section and let me know what you think about it. And what do you genuinely think that should happen to Lawrence Okolie if the B sample comes back as the A sample is? What do you think should happen to drug cheats in boxing when they are caught with drugs in their body? Let me know in the comment section below.